welcome back to another episode of the On the Wagon podcast. I'm your host, Dan. We are going to dive into some of my Las Vegas experiences when it comes to drinking and having a good time. Today's podcast is going to be super fun. One thing I want to say before I get into some of my stories here from Las Vegas, we go out with my best friends every March, so I would not change any of these stories for the world. I mean, obviously, cutting out drinking now is a big deal for my life now, but I would never change the laughs that we had in Las Vegas, and I still love reminiscing about these, and even though that alcohol was involved in all these truly fun times that I'll never forget because they were really, when you get older with friends. You don't get to see them as much. They start their own families, they're working. So to have a group core of friends that go that says, hey, we're going to Las Vegas for these 4 or 5 days. We're gonna have a blast, a lot of laughs, watch a lot of basketball, and just experience things that you don't experience in Wisconsin. Las Vegas is an incredible town. It's starting to change, a little more family friendly, I should say. There's obviously the football team's coming in there. They got a cool stadium downtown now, the T-Mobile Center. So there's more events going on. It's not just the party aspect, but it's a hell of a town. It's always nice weather. So today I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this one, and I hope my good buds are listening to this one because it's fun to reminisce around this time because we're not going this year. Just because some have had some kids here in the last couple months, so we're gonna take a little time off here. But I really truly hope that we can get back there, and I hope I'm still invited, even though I'm sober, which I'm sure I will be. But it'll be an excellent time. First one I want to start with. This was a few years ago, so we always thought that. We usually have about 5 or 6 guys. One year we had 7. So we could pool our money together, as we could say, and stay in a nicer spot. So we always stay at the Venetian, a suite, all in one room. We always can keep tabs on each other. Hardly in the room at all anyways, unless we were going up getting drinks or changing or, getting ready for the night or sleeping the few hours that we did on those days. But so we'd always stay at the Venetian. So if you're familiar with the Venetian, it's not dead center on the Strip, but it's close enough, right? It's you look at the Strip like, oh, these hotels don't, or in these casinos and these don't look that far, and then you start walking, and you got to cross a lot of different stuff. So that's why it for anybody going to Las Vegas, I'd always suggest try to stay in that middle tier of Las Vegas Boulevard. But anyway, so we did this a few years. So we went to the Hard Rock. It's renamed now, I think. But the Hard Rock Hotel had this pool party, well known, called Rehab Pool Party. Great name for it, right? Incredible time. So how it works is, I think it was $2,000. So for $2,000, you got a cabana, which included a couple couches. You had 2 waitresses, a bar back. So basically, you'd pay this money and you would just get taken care of all day, right? You'd spend up to $2,000, so you could buy, they had these cool mixed drinks and these glass cups that you could go in the water with. You could bring bottles if you want. You could have full bottle service, but then you could have pizza. You could have, their food menu, just crazy. So you had to work to get up to it, and everybody's thinking, well, prices are probably pretty expensive. Yeah, they were more, but as we realized, so we had 6 to 7 people, it'd be about $150 a piece, I think, or something. I think it was 1,800. I don't know, something. It wasn't a ton of money, but you were there from 11 a.m. until it closed at 7 p.m. Usually they'd start to fire up the music around 3:30, halfway through, which they have a cool DJ in there, or sometimes they had big professional acts there. So, anyways, we get there, and it's a heavy security thing. Like, they don't want, they don't want you bringing in your booze. They check for, guns and drugs, obviously. And so they do this extensive, pat down, go through all your bags. People would bring in drugs and pens. I know we were talking to security, just crazy stories. So they always put a guy in charge of your bungalow, they call it. So you have a guy in charge of it, then you have the 2 waitresses and bar back. He's like, dude, if you need anything, let me know. we always made a joke like, hey, can you run to the 7-Eleven and get us a pack of spearmint gum? They would run and get that for you. That's how cool they take care of you. Awesome time. Always would highly recommend it if you got enough guys. Wild time. So we're walking there, and we were like, oh, what? I remember one of us, and we were probably drinking before, or still drunk from the night before, so we were, having a good time, and we're like, oh, what's the coolest story you heard? He's like, well, I don't know if it was cool, but last summer we had to kick a pretty famous person out for smuggling in cocaine in an EpiPen. So we're like, well, we gotta hear who it is. Well, he's like, well, I can't tell the name, but he sings this song. Well, we figured out it was Bruno Mars. Surprised that didn't hit the papers or TMZ. Maybe it did. Just go back and look at that. Bruno Mars getting kicked out of rehab pool party for bringing in cocaine. So that's how it started. Great time though, because we had a TV in there, so we could watch the NCAA tournament still. As the day went on, just had a great time. By the end of the night, we were all up on the dance floor part of it, just having a blast. And I remember I was pretty drunk at the time. So then 7 o'clock rolls around, they start weeding the people out. So then you got to find a cab back. Or at that time I don't think they had Uber. It wasn't really fully popular yet. This because this was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and they'd have like these nice SUVs sitting out there, car service. So of course we all hop in a big black Escalade. And the guy was super nice. And before that we're like, hey, let's rip a few shots. Nobody needed shots. No, let me tell you. I think it was $1,800 you had to get to, right? The food limit. At 6:30, we had drank enough stuff and ate stuff that we were only at like $1,350. So once you lose it, you don't get that money back. Like you just spend it and hope you spend it. So we're like, crap, what are we gonna do? So we bought a bottle, like a $350 bottle of some vodka. Everybody's taking pulls out of it or mixing it in their cups, to-go cups, I think. But for some reason, we all take a shot of Rumpelmans inside the casino, which in Vegas is very odd for anybody to take shots. A, because it's super expensive, and B, you're drinking all day. You don't need shots. You just don't. And that's never been a huge thing. So I remember taking that shot, and that was Dunzo time after that. I remember getting back up to the room. I remember taking a shower and changing, and after that, the night's a blur. Apparently, we went to the across the street at the Mirage. We were playing blackjack. Nobody really remembers how they got home, but we all got back to the room. Nothing bad. But that rehab pool party, I'll never forget. And why we needed to take that Rumpelman shot before we got in the car kind of put us all over the edge. I would have loved to seen how we were acting at the Mirage blackjack tables. It probably wasn't pretty at all for that. So that was one of our blackout, or my personal one. Like I said, I don't know how many if all of us blacked out like I used to, but I did a couple times in Vegas, which is, you think about it, it's like, oh crap, it's not like Oshkosh where you can somehow muster your way home. But I was pretty good. I was a blackout artist. I would consider myself. I always found my way home and out of trouble. So that was the first one. Rehab pool party, excellent time, unbelievable time. Second one, this was probably the following year. We flew in on a Wednesday night, so we always picked a time to fly. I think we usually leave by Milwaukee at like 5. Get into Las Vegas. It's a 2-hour difference, so we get into Las Vegas at 7. It's a 4-hour flight. Drink the whole plane ride there. We'd always get a good liquor up buzz. The flight attendants always loved us, because that's the one thing I can always say about our crew is we're always real. When we drink, we're a good time. We laugh a lot. We're not rude, which is good. Like, it is good in the sense, like, some drunks can get violent and aggressive, and we don't. I'm the opposite of that. It's just like just a fun time and slurring your words already before you even get off the plane. So we had scheduled a bottle service table night at Paris. So Paris has a nightclub on the roof, on the roof top called Chateau. Fun club, they have a cool DJ. You live in life. The view is amazing. You get bottle service. I think we each put in $125. That got you 2 bottles and bottle service. But the view, you're looking across at the Bellagio and the fountains, at a night, and usually in March it's not super hot at night. Well, not chilly, but 60s, mid 60s, so it can get cold. So we put on our good dress up. You put your sport coat on and had a great time there. Just great time. But we were drinking the whole plane ride, no, and so we were pretty drunk even getting into this place. And this was probably 9 o'clock. Well, of course we stay until the bottles are gone. I actually think we purchased another bottle at a discounted spot like price because we had you get with the package and the table you get 2 bottles. Well, we polished those off, and then I think we ended up getting another one. All chipped in some more money. Somehow I don't remember this, or me and another guy, but that was with it. Somehow we got lost from the other group, right? So I don't know if the other group was playing blackjack in the Paris or if they made it to another casino. Somehow we got mixed up, right? So it's just me and this other guy. I think we're smoking a cigarette for somehow. I don't know how we got those. But we're in like an alleyway just off of Las Vegas Boulevard, so the Strip. When I say Las Vegas Boulevard, that is the main road on the Strip. And all of a sudden, this lady, probably I would say probably early 30s, I would say, so a little older than us, is like, hey, do you want to ride to? I'm heading to this cool big time spot. Why don't you come in or ride with us? And it happened to be a strip club, which we didn't know at the time. I don't think, or at least I didn't. It's like, oh, let's hit this spot, and so now we jump into this car. Now we're not, no, me and this other guy. Now we're not talking an Uber, right? We're not talking a taxi. We're not even talking a nice car service that for like I talked to thing. We're talking about like a Honda Accord that we're riding on Las Vegas Boulevard. Now, if you're familiar with Las Vegas Boulevard is always packed, jam packed with cars. So all of a sudden we're driving. I remember I'm like, okay, there's the Venetian on the right. We're going further. So when you're going further past the Venetian on north, I think it is, you're going towards Fremont Street, right? You're going towards Old Town Las Vegas. Don't remember anything really. I mean, I don't remember what spot we were, but all of a sudden we're in this hole in the wall type of strip club, right? So it's me and another guy. We sit down, we get some drinks. Like, yeah, I don't remember a thing. I couldn't tell you the people we were talking to, but apparently we were talking to some people or talking to some of the dancers. And one thing led to another, and we're like, oh, now we're in this private room, right? So now, and I know my mom's probably listening to this one, but nothing bad happened, I promise. But all of a sudden, like, I was like in that blackout mode, like, okay, and all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. And I looked at my buddy, like, he's like, yeah, we gotta get out of here before like whatever would happen. So we book it out of there. Somehow we get split up now, right? So I don't know if he found a cab. So now I'm walking back towards the Venetian by myself at 3 a.m. And I'll never forget this. Like, I always remember parts of being blackout. Like, I was never a fall down black. Like, I knew what I was. Nobody could probably even tell that I was in a blackout mode, but I knew where to go and how to get there. But I would, I'd forget things on the way. So walking back, not safe. This is north end of the Strip too, so it's not the greatest part of town. And I remember walking, and all of a sudden I'm like, texting people, whatever. I wasn't like I wasn't saying. I was more saying, oh, I'm heading home. I'm heading back now. Where are you guys? Like, I didn't even tell them that I was by myself. Like, I didn't even say anything like that. But I remember hearing this weird noise. I'm like, God, is something behind me or like just weird. I'm walking on the sidewalk and there's a fence and then a line of like the bushes and shrubs. And I look over and sure enough, it's some guy is just literally laying in the bushes. I don't know if he was homeless or really drunk or on some, just like doing gibberish. So I stand next to it. I say, hey, you all right or something? I remember distinctly talking to him. He's like, hey, can I use your cell phone? And I'm like, nah. And I'm like, oh, do you need me to call somebody? Like, I didn't want to physically give my cell phone to this person. And he's just like, I need to call somebody. And I said, well, do you need assistance, help, or anything? And he wouldn't respond. He wasn't. I could tell he was on something and drunk, but I could tell that he was probably on the homeless end or it was on these. So I'm like, I will gladly make the call for you, but I'm holding on to this cell phone. By the grace of God, all of a sudden a cab pulls up next to me, right, and says, hey, and he was a younger guy, and he's like, you need a ride somewhere, or do you need a cab ride somewhere? Like, I don't know, like, I didn't wave him down. He just randomly stopped, and I think he stopped, and it's like, all right, this dude you could tell, was drinking a lot for me. And he's like, hop in. I'm like, oh, I'm right at the Venetian. He's like, oh, no problem. You're about, a mile down. I don't think he even charged me for the ride. I think I gave him, a $10 tip or whatever, $10 that here, keep it. So just like, not saying anything would have happened, but just little things like that. Like now you go back and think, but that guy, I felt bad for him, but I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm handing over my cell phone to this guy. I will do as much as I can in my drunkenness state, but I am not giving my cell phone. So that was the Paris bottle service issue. I'll call that one. The final one, and just to remember, guys, most people go to Vegas for the weekend, right? 2 to 3 days. We were there 5 or 6 days sometimes, which is just incredibly too many days as you got older. We were really hurting. So this is one of those times. So this is 2 years ago. One of our favorite times, right? So I remember we fly in Wednesday, Thursday, have a great time. Friday, everybody's hurting, right? We're starting to get, I think we're all 30 at this time. We're going to be turning 30. So we're all hurting on this Friday, right? I remember this distinctly. We're like, oh, let's just go find a cool sports bar. Let's have some food. Let's just have some casual beers. Nothing big, and see where the night takes us. Everybody, you could tell everybody was a little groggy from the first 2 nights. So I remember it was super hot that day too. It was like 90. So we sat by the pool for a long time, tried to sweat it out. Had a couple Bud Light Limes, we call them. So we were drinking, but they weren't going down smooth. Put it that way. So we found this cool spot, and of course it was like packed ready for this game. So this is Friday, right? So Friday we're like, let's go back to our hotel. Let's sit. They have the Venetian has a cool like food court area, where they have like Johnny Rockets, Subway, Qdoba, some like Chinese spots. So we all sit and eat something at the food court. Then they have like a cool like bar area where you could sit down and like a nicer casual restaurant, but on the nicer end, but you could just drink there. So we decided to not even eat in the food court. I think we had flatbread, some flatbread pizzas or something. Had a couple Bud Lights, but they still weren't going down good at 6:30. All of a sudden, we just kind of made this idea. It was like 8 o'clock after one of the games. One of my friends is a really big Kansas fan. I remember they pulled it out and won. We ended up we're like, let's just take it easy tonight. And let's just and we all got these big ice cream cones of gelato, Italian as the Venetian. And we just hung out that night in our hotel room. Just literally went back to the room, hung out, chilled, laid in the beds, watched Step Brothers, had some laughs, and all like went to bed pretty early, probably about 11 o'clock, which like, you guys, 11 o'clock in Las Vegas, crazy. But what led up to that was an extreme Saturday, put it that way, because everybody was feeling refreshed. Everybody was feeling upbeat, because usually we leave on Monday, so usually we had plugged in Sunday as a kind of recovery day, but we went at it. So it's what we did. The plan was the Final Four. It was the Elite Eight game. And obviously the game started earlier out there, 2 hours earlier. Usually it started like 6 and 8 out, whatever. So this game started at 2, right? So 2 o'clock. It was Kansas State versus Loyola Chicago. Loyola's magical run. If you can hear my dog Phil is growling in the background, he must not like this story. But so we go to this place down where we've been a few times. They have a fun band there called the Whippets. They pick on the crowd and they play all 80s and 90s music and just bash everybody in the crowd. So it's called Carnival, right? It's an outdoor bar. If you guys want to go there sometime, I'd suggest it. A lot of laughs. It's between the Link and Bally's, I think it is, or one of those two, or Flamingo. So we go in there and they have these really cool drinks, right? Well, they're not cool. They're $25 a piece, but they're big drinks and it's loaded with booze, but it's not like a Long Island. These actually taste good, but you can see them dumping all these different types of things into these drinks. And so we've been drinking in the morning. We usually drink Captain and Cokes in the room. We'd buy 2 big handles and drink off that for the 5 days. So we start drinking these things, and I don't know what happened because I blacked out pretty good too. But not at the time, and not as much as one of my other friends who blacked out extremely heavily. So we're drinking stuff, and I remember we're watching the game, and all of a sudden I stopped kind of watching the game. We're sitting there, and a couple of the buddies are up by the stage. The music's playing. I start talking to this couple that's on their 30th wedding anniversary from Arizona, and they somehow have connections to Wisconsin, so I'm blabbling to them. Finally, I remember it's halftime of the game. I call one of my buddies who's, I'm all loaded, talking to him, talking to his wife, telling how much great time this is, and we got to do this and come out here. They were funny. They were laughing about, it's Las Vegas, right? And every moment of the day, something's going on. So I get back. I notice now that we're missing 2 of our guys, right? 2 of my buddies. But I didn't think anything of it because there's no bathroom out here, so you have to go into like the neighboring casinos to use their restroom. So we get down, the other guys are down there, and we're talking to this bachelorette party that's there from I don't know where. Uh, so so finally, and I'm still in it here. Like I'm drunk, but I was so my tolerance is so high that I could drink so much, and people I wouldn't be stumbling around or whatever, but I was drunk, So one of my buddies comes back and it's like, oh my gosh, I just had to take so and so back to the room. They wouldn't let him in the bar. We tried to sit him down at a bar to drink water. He wouldn't do that. He wasn't getting sick, but he was extremely intoxicated. This is like 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night. So he somehow got him back to our room, which is far from where we were at. So incredible performance on one of my friends' parts there. So he's back though. He's like, I gotta start drinking now again because he's like, I kind of sobered up during this whole thing. So now it's just us three or four. Now this is where the night gets extremely spotty, right? uh, so we apparently leave this middle bar. I remember it's still kind of dusk and light out, which is kind of cool in Las Vegas, So we go into one of the. I think we went into the Link, or not the Link. Yeah, the Link. I think we were playing blackjack. So we must have been playing. And I think these girls apparently followed us around, or the bachelorette party, like follow us in the hotel. And we're playing roulette and stuff like that. So that part after this, I remember the only reason I know we were there, and it was because one of the guys kind of remembered, and I had chips in my pocket from it. But this is where the night got spotty. So I don't remember what time it was. Nobody really knows what happened. But we wake up the next day, right? Or I did too, and I look. I'm all like, I didn't usually. I'll like before we go to bed, I'll change into my basketball shorts. I'm sleeping in the same outfit I had on with my shoes on. My wallet's spread out all over the bed. There's cash. There's chips. I look around the room. The guys are in there. They're passed out still, and the room is destroyed, like bad. Like I'm like, and we never did that. Like we're never in the room. Like it's usually just this one counter that has our cups, drinking cups, but then it's just like we always played cards in the room, and then it's just our luggage and suitcase. That's it. Like we didn't. So this is very unusual that this room, like it's a 2-level suite, so there's furniture that's brought up from the lower level. There's a lamp that's broke. We go into the bathroom. There's a mirror that's spider webbed, like a little, like, not the big mirror, thank God, but the little like cosmetic mirror that's shattered or smashed. There's this ginormous red stain on the floor, like no lie, on the carpet, like huge. Like I'm like, whoa, what? We look at the wall of the door. There's like a nice like big entryway, and there's like 3 or 4 glass bottles shattered that were by the door. I'm like, oh my god. So everybody starts waking up, and like we're trying to piece together this. So we don't know if it was from the drinks at this place. We don't really know after what happened. So now we're like trying to figure out, well, why is this red stain on the floor? Well, it comes to find out that I was the one that made this purchase because nobody did. Because I had to go back and look at my credit card or my debit card statement or whatever, one of them, to see who ordered from Fat Tuesday. Now, Fat Tuesday are these little places on throughout the Las Vegas Boulevard where you get those big Cousin Eddie drinks, right? Those big, mixed fruity slushy drinks. Well, apparently I bought that, and because there was a cup on the floor, so that we figured out that somehow I spilled that all over. We figured out that all of us had thrown a beer bottle against the door and shattered it. We don't know how the furniture got moved around. We don't know how the spider web. Just an absolute mess. That this was, I could not believe it. So this is Sunday. So thank God that we were not charged for any of this stuff. I have no idea how. We fixed the lamp as good as we could have. But the mirror we left there, I mean, it was spider web. So I mean, but then again, you got to think like, okay, we stayed there for so many years, and how many rooms were worse than this? So like the stain on the floor, I'm like, oh, I mean, how many people have spilled stuff or got sick on the floor? So we're like, okay, that's probably the least of our issues. That Dan dumped a whole full Cousin Eddie drink on the floor, like, and we picked up the glass. So it's like, just trying to piece together that night, and I'll never forget that day. Duke played Kansas, great game, and we're like, I was so miserable, hungover, and I think everybody kind of was, but we ended up going downtown to Fremont Street because we had an early flight the next day, but nobody really drank. But we like going down to Fremont because there were some incredible people down there just to watch. I would have like people watching, and drinks are cheaper down there, and you could play cheaper roulette and blackjack. So those are my three big blackout stories, I would say, that I had kind of pieced together over the years. But like I want to, reinitiate all these experiences. Nothing, all the years we went, nothing bad happened to us. The laughs outweighed everything. We still talk about that to this day when we get together. And I hope to keep, heading out there and making more memories, even though that I'll be sober out there. But that I don't think that'll matter. It's just a great place. It's an awesome town, just fun place. And if you like to play cards and gamble too, excellent time to win some money out there. But that'll wrap up this week's podcast. A real fun one. Las Vegas, crazy. I was funny. I was flipping through our Roku and came across Leaving Las Vegas, which is never seen it. Always heard, this is, and if you're not familiar, it's basically a story about Nicolas Cage as the actor, a guy that was fired from some Hollywood job and decides that he's going to drink himself. He's an alcoholic, drink himself to death in Las Vegas, and he meets this, hooker basically, and then they have kind of a romance. And I just remember him stumbling around Las Vegas, and I can remember me stumbling around Las Vegas. So crazy. That's why I said I have to do the Las Vegas pod this week. So stay tuned for next week. My voice is starting to go. I got to get some more coffee and some aloe juice in me, and we will talk to everybody next week. Just remember, one day at a time, stay sober, and have a great weekend.